And welcome back. We're with Heather Johnson and Ryan Capps from 99Lives. If we had to write a book on the fundamentals of setting up a label, what would the contents page look like?
I honestly think that the first section in the table of contents for a book about setting up a music label, especially if it's in the United States, but I'm sure you can find stuff like this in any country, needs to be a collection of some of the most absurd laws that you're going to have to still continue to abide by, so that you know how goofy and ridiculous the world of music legal is when you go into it. For example, in America, we have, as far as I'm aware, it's still on the books, a law from like 1910 that was originally created to monitor money that was generated by self-playing pianos at bars. And that law is still enforced in 2021.
Mechanical rights?
Probably. I don't.
Yeah.
That was kind of the point where I was just like, "Hey, Nate, I think I might be done." I was like, I don't know if I can do this anymore.
You wouldn't have to worry about A&R in that point, though.
Right.
Yeah.
So like that's the first part, and then after that, like I think I want to echo what Heather said, which is you need to be grounded. The unsexy foundation needs to be built and needs to be rock solid first. If you don't understand the different kinds of rights that you represent or are trying to acquire, if you don't understand exactly how you're going to fight on behalf of your artists, if you don't even know the rules of the game that you're in, and then on top of that, again, we came dangerously close at one time. We were not paying everybody, but we were paying people who were running out of runway on our label. And I just kind of had a holy smokes, I think we're in trouble moment where I was like, I think the amount of money we have to give us and the amount of money that's due to artists is getting very close to each other. But I didn't have the correct bookkeeping in place to show anybody that. So I just kind of had to run into a meeting and wave my hands around and just get everyone to pay attention to me until we figured it out. And that's the kind of stuff that you really don't want to be laying track in front of the train while it's moving. So
the other thing that we kind of had an advantage too is we had a Nate for the knowledge piece of it too, but one of the biggest things in music industries, there's just not a lot of tech, and what tech exists is expensive. And so we had a lot of build versus buy conversations, and Nate is a software guy. So we have a royalty payment system that I maintain still. Like he taught me how to write code over the years while I was watching them do this before I took it over. And he built that. We have a rights tracking system that he built for us that I maintain, right? And these are things that cost, like I've looked at potentially replacing it so that I don't have to maintain it. And we're talking like even for our size label, something that starts at $2,400 a month. And that's not even facilitating the payment. That's just doing the calculations. And then I still have to pay for the email statements to go out, right? Which we do ourselves, and because we built it ourselves, it's $15, right? Most labels don't have that. And so you're going to be living out of spreadsheets. You're going to be paying accountants. I mean, I've talked to labels in the indie space that are still on the bigger side that still use spreadsheets and accountants, because it's still cheaper to have 2 accountants on staff than it is to pay for some of this tech, right? So we are kind of a lesson in failing up. We had the big influencer, we had a tech guy, and we didn't know what we didn't know. So we built what we could and somehow survived through it, honestly. Now we're doing really, really well. Yeah.
Our first royalty system, I paid 4 figures to an accountant in Dallas, and he built it for me on an Excel spreadsheet. And after our third release, putting information in and telling it to spit out answers, it would lock the computer up for like 20 minutes because he was like, you need a database. And I was like, sweet, tell me more. I'll never start another company without having an absolutely rock solid tech guy, unless it's even if it was like a shoe store. Like, I just don't know that I'd ever start a restaurant here in Richmond. I don't think I'd start a company without having somebody who is technically savvy, because I don't think we survived this without having that piece. And at one point, I can't believe I have to say this, but at one point I had to get into a low-key argument about whether or not it was worth it to bring Nate on after I went and met him at a conference. And I was just like, I will leave if you do not bring this man on board, because we will not survive without him. I don't care how many cool songs you sign. I don't care how much cool artwork we get. We will collapse under our own weight. So
find yourself a Nate. You can't have our Nate. He's
That's
ours.
true. It's true.
Go find yourself a Nate.
Well, I was going to say that maybe all of you should hire your services out, given that you have so much experience now.
If I didn't spend 80 hours a week on the label, then sure. Because it's still a one-man show for the most part, and I still maintain the tech. So, yeah. And I mentored a couple other, like I have an artist that's now trying to create his own label in the same space, and we had a kind of a come to Jesus conversation for 2 hours. And afterwards, he's like, I need a drink. And I was like,
I can't count the number. I can't count the number of those conversations I've had with artists that I like, even artists that I think are competent adults. Like there are some of them that are like essentially wide-eyed children that are just kind of like, I'm going to be the next, Diplo, and I'm going to have a huge label. And it's like, okay, lad, let's you and me sit down and we'll talk about it. And I basically start to throw the scary stuff at him, and that goes away. And then I've had other people that are smart, and it takes less time to talk them off of it, because I think it doesn't take them very long to acknowledge the scope of what they're actually trying to endeavor. It is at the end very like, yeah, I need a drink very quickly. I need a drink.